Strategic management. We all know in a dynamic environment, each firm needs to tailor its strategic management process in ways that best suit its own capabilities and situational requirements. The information process involves collecting and analyzing information about the external and internal environments. External factors are taken into account to find major opportunities and threats that now or will confront the organization. In this lesson, we will describe the purposes of strategic management process, explain the steps involved in the strategic management, define strategy formulation and strategy implementation, and identify the strategic control and assessment. After going through this presentation, you should be able to explain purpose of strategic management process, strategic choice, implementation, and strategic control and assessment. Strategic management basically aims at formulating and implementing effective strategies. Effective strategies, of course, are those that help a superior fit between the organization and its environment and the achievement of strategic goals. Andrews. Strategies necessarily change over time to suit environmental changes, but to remain competitive, organizations develop strategies that focus on core competence, develop synergy, and create value for customers. It reflects a distinct competitive advantage like superior research and development, mastery of a technology, distribution channel, manufacturing efficiency, or customer service that provides the firm to access the variety of products or markets. It contributes greatly to customer benefits in the end products and is an exclusive and inimitable preserve of the firm that is long-lasting and cannot be easily copied by competitors. When organizational parts interact to produce a joint effort that is greater than the sum of the parts acting alone, synergy occurs. Exploiting core competencies and achieving synergy help organizations create value for their customers. Value is the sum total of benefits received and costs paid by the customer in a given situation. Strategic competitiveness is achieved when a firm successfully formulates and implements a value-creating strategy. Relevant strategic inputs from analysis of the internal and external environments are needed for effective strategy formulation, implementation, and evaluation. In the organizational context, vision is a picture of the organization, the core values for which an organization stands, and a clear description of what the organization wishes to become in the years ahead. A mission statement, on the other hand, specifies what an organization is and why it exists. The strategic management process begins with an evaluation of the organization's current vision, mission, objectives, and strategy. The firm's external environment is challenging and complex. Because of the impact the external environment has on performance, the firm must develop requisite skills to identify opportunities and threats existing in that environment. The external environment has three important parts. These are general environment, industry environment, and competitive environment, in which the firm examines each major rival's future objectives, current strategies, assumptions, and capabilities. In order to exploit environmental opportunities to its advantage, a firm must have internal resources and capabilities. After the external and internal analysis, the firm tries to formulate explicit strategic plans at three levels: corporate, business, and functional. These are then put into action using leadership, structural designs, information systems, and human resources to good advantage. The strategic management process is made up of four elements: situation analysis, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and strategy evaluation. These elements are steps that are performed in order when developing a new strategic management plan. Situation analysis is the first step in the strategic management process. The situation analysis provides the information necessary to create a company mission statement. Situation analysis involves scanning and evaluating the organizational context, the external environment, and the organizational environment. Strategy formulation involves designing and developing the company strategies. Determining company strengths aids in the formulation of strategies. These steps include operational strategies, are short-term and are associated with the various operational departments of the company, such as human resources, finance, marketing, and production. Competitive strategies are those associated with methods of competing in a certain business or industry. Corporate strategies are long-term and are associated with deciding the optimal mix of businesses and the overall direction of the organization. Strategy implementation involves putting the strategy into practice. This includes developing steps, methods, and procedures to execute the strategy. Strategy evaluation involves examining how the strategy has been implemented as well as the outcomes of the strategy. Strategy consulting at a broad level essentially addresses the key strategic challenges facing the senior management team of a business in the pursuit of growth and delivering shareholder value. Strategy formulation typically operates at three levels in an organization. Corporate level strategy, the overall purpose and scope of the organization and how value will be added to the different business units of the organization. X, for example, which businesses and markets should we be in? How can we add synergy across the businesses we are in? How can we create a competitive advantage across the corporation as a whole? Business unit strategy. How to compete successfully in particular markets. X, for example, how can we gain a competitive advantage within the markets we operate in? Operational strategy. How the component parts of an organization deliver effectively the corporate and business level strategies in terms of resources, processes, and people. The R&D strategy should encourage innovation, marketing should stress brand loyalty and reliable distribution channels, production should maintain long production runs, cost reduction and routinization, finance should focus on cash flows and positive returns, and HR department should develop strategies for retaining and developing a stable workforce. Strategy selection criteria are as follows. They are responsive to the external environment. They offer a sustainable competitive advantage. They're consistent with other strategies in the organization. They provide adequate flexibility for the business and the organization, and they conform to the organization's mission and long-term objectives, and are organizationally feasible. Strategy implementation is the process of translation of strategies and policies into action through the development of programs, budget, and procedures. It is typically conducted by the middle and lower level management, but is reviewed by the top management. To be effective, a strategy must be implemented through the right organization structure and appropriate management practices. Management must also ensure that there is progress towards objectives according to plan by instituting a rigorous process of control over important activities. The firm should therefore work to make its structure congruent with its strategy. Effective strategy implementation calls for utilization of human resources fully. People should be motivated to implement a new strategy in desired ways. It is not sufficient merely to have people who can do the job. It is also necessary to have people who want to do the job the way you need it done. The traditional motivational techniques are based on a reward-punishment psychology and involve the use of performance appraisals and performance-based incentive programs. The successful implementation of strategy must take into account the history of an organization and dominant values or culture which exists. In addition to the traditional motivating techniques, the organization should also provide for individual motivators for achieving results competently. Strategic control, the last step of the strategic management process, is monitoring and evaluating the strategy management process as a whole in order to make sure that it is operating properly. There are three basic steps to the strategic control process. First, measure performance. Strategic audits are used to find what is actually happening in the organization. Both qualitative and quantitative tools are employed for this purpose. Quantitative tools like return on investment, the relationship between the amounts of income generated and the amount of assets required to operate the organization. Z-score and shareholders audit, etc. are used to measure organizational performance. Next is compare performance to goals and standards. Here management builds a case for concluding whether the performance is according to the predetermined standards in respect of certain key areas. Last is corrective action. If the actual performance is not in line with predetermined standards set for the purpose, corrective action is necessary. In such a case, every attempt is made to modify the enterprise's strategies and the implementation so that the organization's ability to accomplish its goals will be improved. Now let us check if we have understood the various concepts discussed in this lesson clearly. The information process involves collecting and analyzing information about the external and internal environments. Right or wrong? Right. Strategic management aims at formulating and implementing effective strategies. Right or wrong? Right. The strategic management process begins with an evaluation of the organization's external analysis. Right or wrong? Wrong. Before we end, let us briefly revise what we have studied till so far. A management process designed to achieve the firm's missions and objectives. Strategic competitiveness is achieved when a firm successfully formulates and implements a value-creating strategy. Strategy formulation is the process of determining appropriate courses of action for achieving organizational objectives and thereby accomplishing organizational purpose. Strategic business unit is a distinct business with its own business mission, product line, market share, and competitors that can be managed reasonably independently of other businesses within the organization. Corporate level strategy is the strategy formulated by the top management for the overall company. Value chain is the notion that an enterprise receives inputs from suppliers of resources, transforms them into outputs, and channels the outputs to buyers, adding value at each point in the process. Business level strategy is a competitive strategy that focuses on meeting competition, protecting market share, and achieving profits at the business unit level. Functional level strategy is the strategy pursued by each functional area of a business unit, such as finance, marketing, personnel, production, etc. Strategic control means monitoring and evaluating the strategic management process as a whole in order to make sure that it is operating properly.